there's some more stuff, flavor that came out of that game. Duke's an amazing team with Zion, but they are vulnerable when it comes to shooting the three. They only rank 329th in 3-point percentage. And that's not good at all. That's one of the worst teams in the nation at shooting threes. It's crazy seeing Duke being 329th in 3-point percentage, but they're not a great free throw team either, ranking 251st in the nation in the bottom third. And that's at 68.7%. All right. That's a pretty big spread for a team that can't do those two things. For a team that can't shoot threes and for a team that can't shoot free throws, that's a big spread. 7.5. Duke ranks 6th on offense and 7th on defense on KenPom, but Virginia Tech's not too far back. They rank 12th and 19th on KenPom, respectively, in those categories, in offense, adjusted defense. So when Virginia Tech played Duke, here's what I was talking about before. They were also without their key player. They were without Justin Robinson, a 4-year starter, who shot over 55% last game against Virginia. He has to account for something here, all right? This guy was their best player, and they beat Duke without him. Lastly, the Hokies, they really do not have a big weakness. Just like I said, Duke's weaknesses, they're pretty solid all around the ball. This is a large spread, but now I'm starting to kind of side with you. Do you really want to get in the way of a team that almost was bounced, the number one overall seed that almost lost? That's the big scary thing that might keep you off this spread. Not sure what I'm doing with this, but I'm leaning Virginia Tech plus the 7.5. Any final thoughts?
Yeah, I can't blame anyone for leaning Virginia Tech. In fact, I lean them ATS. All the major indicators and the types of things that you look at would tend to make us do that. I'm not going to make an ATS play on this game. Look at what happened near the end of that game against UCF. Zion, with the game on the line, what's he going to do? He's going to drive to the bucket. He's going to run over 3 guys. You're not going to get a charging call, and you're going to get someone else in foul trouble, and they're going to get to the line.
Exactly.
He absolutely trucked one of those guys from UCF at the end of that game. Never gets a charge. Lowers his shoulder, and we can all talk about Duke and the refs and how much they get calls and things. There are many times in which I feel like they have to put their A game out there every game, and everyone's trying to knock them off. And there were many calls earlier in that game that I questioned as well, but it just happens to be that it's like a soap opera. You watch it, you know what's going to happen at the end, but you can't stop watching it to see what happens, or a train wreck, or whatever you want to use. I can't bet against Duke, and I don't know why. I want to, I really do, but I'm just not going to do it. And I may add them into a money line parlay. I wanted to bring this up. When you mentioned a money line parlay, one of the things I looked at earlier was, if you put Virginia and North Carolina in a money line parlay, you're going to pay about $1.60 for $1. If you add Duke into that, so Duke, Virginia, North Carolina, you're going to have plus 133 if you want to add them into a money line parlay. I didn't look at it with Michigan State, but now you've got me wanting to do that as well. So I just wanted the listeners to be aware that that's something that you can do here in this spot. I think there's some value there.
Yeah, if you have Michigan State facing off Duke in that bracket there, in that East bracket, why not put them on a money parlay and make your prediction right in your bracket? That's not a bad idea at all. So I love what you're doing there. How mad would you be losing if you're a Duke fan? I guess you'd be pretty pissed off with Duke losing. But on the other hand, if you use them in a money parlay, maybe if you don't like Duke, it wouldn't hurt so bad to lose a little bit of money. But that's not something we recommend. We don't, it's not about being a fan. We only see value. I see there's value in Duke on the money line parlay, and I also see value in the 7.5 points. Duke should win this game by 3 or 4 points, in my opinion. Just like you said, time to move on to the final game here. We have Houston versus Kentucky. Kentucky laying 2.5 points. Over under is at 134.5. I'll get started here. This game's, as we know, is depending upon one major thing. And I don't even think it's even worth discussing the money if you want to talk about it. The sharper money's on Kentucky at -2.5 in hopes that PJ is back, right? And PJ is so good to this team, PJ Washington, that he will move this line. If he's not coming, this could go down to probably -1. And if PJ Washington is in, this will go up past -4.5, in my opinion. Okay, he's the best player for Kentucky. We saw Kentucky struggle against Wofford most of the game until the last few minutes. It wasn't struggle. It was just not pull away. They're up by kind of like 3 to 5 points the whole game, and they didn't pull away till the very end. Houston's been great this year. They're everyone's sleeper team to make the Final Four. But that's the only problem. They're not tall. They're not tall at all. And I don't see how they match up against Reed, Travis, and PJ if he's back, and a couple other guys. Tyler Hero's an amazing guard. If Houston's missing their shots, they're in danger of being out rebounded really bad. We saw this. We saw this against UCF this year. We saw Houston missing shots against Cincinnati. And those are the only other two teams in that division that's worth anything. Houston didn't shoot great on the road. And they also don't shoot well in overall field goal efficiency. They only rank 104th in KenPom. Houston's defense has been a beast, though. They rank 12th on KenPom, and I think that's the main reason why they outscore their opponents by 15 on the road. That and the fact that they're in the American Athletic Conference. Kentucky, when healthy, they shoot an amazing 46.2% on the road. They outscore their opponents by 4 or so, but they had the hardest schedule. Kentucky has the 11th ranked offense and 9th ranked defense in the league, but I'm just not so sure it's going to be enough to cover 2.5 without their best player. Okay. If both teams are healthy, I have the raw numbers of Kentucky winning 68-65. Modified numbers after matchup, I have it more like 70-64. With the injury, I have to lean the plus points here. Both these teams play slow though. Houston plays 66.2 possessions per game, and Kentucky plays 65.7 possessions per game. So, if you're going to have to make a play early on this, I look to the under. And being that this game might be tight, I'd almost rather invest in the first half under. So my lean to this game without PJ Washington information is the first half under 63. What are your thoughts, Tom?
I love that you've developed that angle on the first half under. When I looked at this game, this was another one where I've struggled to say where can I invest? Where could I recommend someone else invest? I just don't see it. But after listening to you, I think you've got a beautiful angle there on the first half under. The only other thing I'd mention is, look at how Houston played against UCF near the end of the season with that height advantage, and ask yourself, did UCF have P.J. Washington? They didn't. Can Kentucky, without P.J. Washington, match up similarly to how UCF did and play that style of ball and protect the bucket down low, protect offensive rebounds, don't give putbacks. And if Houston isn't hot, like you mentioned, if they can't shoot from outside, this thing can get away from Houston very quickly. And this thing will have the potential for Kentucky to just run away with it. I have it power lined at 2. Obviously, Houston comes in 12-4, ATS away on the season, 23-12 on the season. They had a close loss to Michigan last year. They're battle-tested, so the storyline sort of matches up with Houston having a really good show here. I have my concerns about anyone that could back Houston in the spot. I don't know that there's a ton of line value. I agree with you that the market might go crazy and add a couple points, maybe even up to 5 or 5.5 if P.J. Washington is listed as playing in this game. But it's Kentucky or pass for me on the side, but I really love the angle that you've made there with the pace of play and that first half under.
you can see these teams coming off a little tight too, especially if Washington's not in. They're going to be more defensive focused. Houston might be a little bit nervous. This is a big stage for them, big stage for Sampson, their coach. I just think that, the first half under is probably the best play that I can look at in this game, Tom. Well, we're about out of time, my man. Really appreciate you coming on and breaking down some of these games, Tom. How can our listeners get a hold of you for some of your plays?
Yeah, absolutely. So get a hold of me at Cover Profit. I definitely recommend all kinds of DMs. I talk to many people throughout the day about my angles and the way in which I approach sports betting, bankroll management, things like that. So get a hold of me at Cover Profit on Twitter. But also, you can find some of my write-ups and plays on your website at theoddsbreakers.com.
Sounds great, Tom. Thanks again for coming on. Everyone, if you have any questions or want me to handicap a side or give you a thought on a total here, obviously we covered most of it, but if you have any other thoughts, please tweet us or DM us at The Odds Breakers. Have a fantastic weekend betting the Sweet 16 and go get some winners.